For rejecting various essentialist views which according to Nāgārjuna are dogmatic views or drishtis, he uses a peculiar method called prasanga paddhati, roughly the method of reductio ad absurdum. In this context, prasanga literally means calamity or unacceptable consequence. Rejecting a view by prasanga method means rejecting a view by pointing at the unacceptable consequence it will lead to. While using this method, Nāgārjuna generally followed the following procedure. Now, let us suppose that V is the essentialist view which Nāgārjuna wants to reject. Then Nāgārjuna would analyze V in terms of alternative formulations. Now, suppose exactly 4 alternative formulations are possible. Then Nāgārjuna would consider them one by one and bring out the unacceptable consequence each one will lead to. In this way, all the alternative formulations of the view V stand rejected. This leads to the rejection of the original view V. By accepting and applying this method, Nāgārjuna refutes different prima facie views based on essentialism about reality and arrives at the anti-essentialist view, the perspective of emptiness, the perspective of shunyata. Now, we find in Nāgārjuna the doctrine of two truths, that is samvriti satya and paramarthata satya. So, let us talk about that. Nāgārjuna says that the Buddhas taught dharma from the standpoint of two truths, conventional truth, that is loka samvriti satya, which can also be called prima facie truth, and ultimate truth, that is paramartha satya or paramarthataha satya. For understanding the philosophy of Madhyamika Buddhism, one has to be clear about the distinction between the two truths. Nāgārjuna describes these two truths sometimes as opposed to each other, but their relation does not seem to be that of pure and simple opposition, say that of contradiction, but more complicated than this. Because Nāgārjuna also says that paramartha cannot be taught except on the basis of vyavahara. Vyavaharam anashritya paramartho na deshyate. Vyavahara here refers to commonsensical understanding of reality, which is only a prima facie truth of the world. Our commonsensical understanding of the world, although it constitutes only a prima facie truth, is basic to our life in this world, and therefore, it is also basic to philosophical exercise that we undertake as a part of life. The prima facie truth in this sense is practically foundational to a higher truth, namely philosophical truth. But how do we arrive at this philosophical truth? It is by critically examining the prima facie truth. The prima facie truth involves our belief in the dualities of knower and knowable, agents, actions and objects of action, existence of entities such as time, space, matter, self, etc. Nāgārjuna, by critically examining these beliefs, arrives at the conclusion that none of these dualities or entities exist by itself. None of them exists essentially, svabhavataha, nor is something which is prima facie non-existent essentially so. This non-essentiality of all things is what is called pratitya samutpada or shunyata by Nāgārjuna. This is the truth in its ultimate sense according to him. Nāgārjuna arrives at this truth by critically examining and negating the prima facie truth. This negation of prima facie truth is the non-essentiality of the prima facie truth, but it is not the essential non-existence of it. This peculiar negation of the prima facie reality could perhaps be understood better as a dialectical negation than a logical negation, because here the negation of the prima facie truth does not exclude it completely, but it throws better light on it, it remains a development over it. Nāgārjuna's criticism of the prima facie truths. Now, let us see that. Let us consider some of the main beliefs that constitute the prima facie truth of the world and the way in which Nāgārjuna examines them critically. So, the first such concept would be existence and non-existence. As a part of our common sense view of the world, we believe that there are many things in the world that exist, asti, and there are many other things that do not exist, nasti. Or rather, with regard to any given thing, that is bhava or dharma, we believe either that it exists or it does not exist. Against this, Nāgārjuna says that to say that the given thing exists is to be led to Shashvatavad, that is eternalism, and to say that it does not exist is to be led to Uchchedavad, annihilationism. Nāgārjuna concludes that things are neither essentially real nor unreal and hence are essenceless, nisvabhav. It is in this sense that Nāgārjuna uses the word shunyata, that is emptiness. Now, the other concept which Nāgārjuna criticizes is causation. It is a part of our common sense view that the world, that many things in this world are regarded as impermanent. They come into existence and cease to exist. We also believe that the things that come into existence are caused by something with which they are connected by the essential relation of causation. This relation of causation could be understood in different ways. Causation could be either manifestation of the effect which is already existent in the cause, that is what is held by Satkaryavada view, or it could be a new origination which is held by Arambhavada view, or we may be occasionally inclined to accept the emergence of something without cause, which is sometimes called Yadruchavada. Nāgārjuna denies all these possibilities. In Samskrita Pariksha, he contends that neither origination nor destruction is ontologically real. Origination, according to him, cannot be either self nature or borrowed nature of the object. Even the borrowed nature, that is parabhava, is supposed to be borrowed from something which has it as its own nature, but own nature, that is svabhava or prakriti, is something which does not undergo any change. Hence, according to Nāgārjuna, accepting anything as self nature of a thing compels us to accept permanence of that thing, and permanence is inconsistent with origination. When origination is denied, destruction gets automatically denied. Therefore, to maintain that something can be originated or destroyed on account of its self nature or borrowed nature is to make a self inconsistent claim. Nāgārjuna criticizes the essentiality of causal connection in many contexts, in many ways. For example, the chapters in Mūlamadhyamakakārikā entitled Skandha Pariksha, which is fourth chapter, Karmakaraka Pariksha, that is chapter number 8, Purva Pariksha, chapter number 9, Agnindhana Pariksha, chapter number 10, Purva Parakoti Pariksha, chapter number 11, Dukha Pariksha, chapter number 12, Samagri Pariksha, chapter number 20, and Sambhava Vibhava Pariksha, chapter number 21 are all noteworthy in this connection. The third concept which Nāgārjuna criticizes is motion. As a part of our common sense view of the world, we accept the reality of motion, movement. we believe that the things in this world can be and some of them actually are in motion, that is, they go from one place to another. Nāgārjuna tries to criticize this belief in his chapter entitled Gata Pariksha, that is, that a thing moves from one place to another implies that a thing reaches another place at a particular time. It further implies that at a particular time the other place was yet to be reached, then it was being reached, and at last it was reached. This indicates three possibilities about the destination of motion, that is gamana. One possibility is gata, that is, the object which is already reached is being reached. Second possibility is agata, that is, the object which is not yet reached is being reached. And number 3, gamyamana, that is, the object which is being reached is being reached. Nāgārjuna denies all the three possibilities. The first two denials look obvious, that is, the object which is not reached is being reached and the object which is reached is being reached. The denial of them looks obvious, but the denial of the third possibility, that is, the object which is being reached does not look so obvious, rather it is a contradiction. The reason that Nāgārjuna gives for the third denial is that if we accept the third alternative, that is, what is being reached, then we are accepting two acts of reaching when there is actually only one or none. Now, we come to the next, that is, fourth concept, or rather the group of concepts, that is relational complexes. The act of going is called motion, but going also has another aspect which is a part of our common sense view of the world. The act of going refers to a triadic relation between act, object and agent. In fact, this is true of actions and that of knowing also, although knowing may not be an act. In a sense, all the relata of these triadic relations are interdependent, but though interdependent in a sense, these relata are independent in some sense, because act, agent and object should have their distinct identities in order to enter into the triadic relation. These relations in this way are paradoxical. They cannot be said to be absolutely real nor as absolutely unreal. Even pratitya samutpada as the relation of dependence raises the paradox of identity and difference. If x arises depending upon y, it is neither identical with y nor is it different from y. It is neither subject to annihilation nor permanence. That is what Nāgārjuna says. Pratitya yad bhavati nahi tavat tadeva tat nachanyadapi tat tasmat nochinnam napi shashvatam. Through such a critical examination of different kinds of entities, motions and relations, and by dialectically negating different alternatives with regard to them, Nāgārjuna develops his non-essentialist interpretation of pratitya samutpada, although pratitya samutpada indicates the picture of the world in which all things have interdependent or interconnected existence. This interdependence and interconnectedness is to be taken more in the negative sense of inessentiality and non-absoluteness than in the sense of absolute dependence or absolute connectedness.